All right, so this week we watched 10 Things I Hate About You, and it was my first time watching it and Ariel's first time watching it. But Angelina, was it your first time watching it as well?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. So Lucy's the only person who's seen it like, what, 100 times? So coming from a person who's seen it a lot, was it anything that you like picked up this time or didn't notice that you?
I mean, I have to say I've watched this movie a lot, so it was like really, nothing new. Love Julia Stiles' performance, love Heath Ledger, I pretty much know the plot back and forth. But something that I kind of really loved like about it when I watched it this time, because there's always just certain things that hit you at different times, is just the music. Because it's so like late 90s, early 2000s. It's like perfectly chosen. And I mean, really just I think the film is like so great for kind of like the style that is coming back now in our generation, just like that kind of early 2000s. I know it was made in like 1999, but like
Yeah.
big in the early 2000s, like and that kind of style. Like Julia Stiles's outfits are like stuff I would see like people wear now, so it's kind of like that aesthetic, and like the pop punk kind of movement is maybe coming back a little bit, so it was just interesting to see it in that light. But I mean, love the movie, never regret watching it ever. So yeah, but just in general I think the music is like very spot on for the kind of what the mood they're going for. So
Right.
mhm.
And Ariel, since it was our first time, what did you think of it?
I liked it. I think it's such a good, I think the best word to say is like comfort movie nowadays.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of I have my own comfort movies, but like I think this would definitely add to that list. It's just a feel good movie to watch overall. I
Yeah.
think the script is great. The acting's really nice, and it's also from like young actors at that time. Like for instance, like Julia Stiles and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I know them from like projects in like late 2000s more than I do with their earlier work when they were probably like 18, 19. So I think that was really cool to see them then and what kind of made them famous and what was their startup.
Yeah, I agree. And it was, I don't know if y'all are into Shakespeare. I don't listen to Shakespeare a lot or like watch it a lot, but a lot of his stuff is very like relevant today. And that, movie was definitely about a play he wrote, which I'm gonna figure out right now which play it was.
Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah, Taming of the Shrew.
I won't lie to admit I'm not the biggest Shakespeare fan.
Right.
Doing theater, I've heard it all the time. I've read so many. I'm reading Macbeth right now in school, so it's definitely in my wheel space and where my head is. But I will admit that his stories ultimately are timeless, and they can just be used through multiple settings. And even in movies, besides 10 Things I Hate About You, they're seen throughout different movies and genres and different time settings and places, and so in eras. So I think that's really cool. And so I knew that the only thing I knew going into this movie was that it was based off Taming of the Shrew, because I learned that in like the 6th grade, watching like a video in like my theater class. But I like that his stories overall just have like themes that can be relevant to today.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, it is really great in that way. And I mean, the movie is different than the play, because the play has more misogynistic values, I'll just say.
More modern for sure.
Yes, but kind of that similar, like, because, and I think 10 Things I Hate About You takes it in a positive way, because in Taming of the Shrew in the play, they're all like, oh, Katerina is too, like, she's too outspoken, she's too strong-willed, and that's why she's, like, known as a shrew, and which obviously reflects Kat in the movie.
Well, movie.
But ultimately, she grows and changes, and so that main theme is in there, but obviously they correct the more sexist aspects of it. But we still have that like transformation that obviously, like Ariel said, is so iconic in Shakespeare's works and are still so applicable to most situations today. And I think it's really interesting, that they were able to apply it to a situation with all teenagers, because I do find that the movie is maybe like not the most accurate aspect of high school or depiction, but like definitely more than others, you know, like
It's nothing like outlandish. Like it's nothing that you could never see happening before.
right.
I think it's the most realistic that could happen. Is it completely realistic? No, but it's the most out of a lot of Shakespeare like modern day tellings.
Yes. So yeah.
And Angelina, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I actually like rarely ever watch like movies like that. Like I'm not a huge like love story, like teen, like coming of age kind of movie. I've never been a fan of them. I'm like a huge like sucker for the trope of like the girls like kind of like the outcast or whatever, and like the guy's also that, but he like and they fall in love and like she doesn't have to change, and he likes that she's like strong and like has her own opinions and stuff. So
That's
I like really enjoyed that part of the movie.
Yeah, me too. With Kat, like I thought it was perfect because I'm like, yes, girl, you're so strong. Like,
Yeah.
I like that also. Like I think that was something because we all watched this like rom-com video, like kind of like the story of it and how it came to be and the tropes. I think it was really nice is that Kat wasn't your stereotypical rom-com like girl. She wasn't pining after a guy. Like Angelina said, she had her own opinion. She had her own mind. Her brain wasn't boy focused. If anything, Bianca, her sister, resembles more of the romantic comedy trope of the red herring and all that, and she finds herself and she falls in love with the guy she spends more time with than she realized she was pining after. So I think it's really nice that you have both those parallels where you have like the rom-com and the other, which is Kat, and I think that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I love it's just really genius writing the way they like connect these two plots together. Like I think about it, I'm like, how do people even come up with that? Because it's literally like 5 characters all involved in this one love triangle, but not love pentagon, if you will. But yeah, no, and I love like Bianca. Like I don't really love her as a character because she's like pretty shallow, but she has like such amazing character development. Both the Stratford sisters do actually in very different ways. You know, because like you said, Ariel, like Bianca kind of learns to, you know, maybe be a little less shallow and, you know, likes Cameron and gets over, you know, the male model deal.
Right.
right.
Right. And Kat kind of learns to like let her guard down and, you know, be herself without feeling like she has to like, you know, surprise everyone else, like she kind of talks about in the movie. And yeah, so they both really grow and learn, but in like very different ways, and they're not super connected in their stories, and the stories are so different that it is really well done and just very interesting to see, because you see like such developed like an intricate character development, but like in totally separate there's totally separate situations in the same movie. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and I really thought Bianca was gonna be like the protagonist, like just like the main character, like throughout the whole movie. But it was really about both of them. Like,
Yeah.
to me, mostly like Kat, but yeah, it was interesting to me because usually in most movies it's like one person is like the center, but I felt like they really balanced this with both characters.
Yeah, I think it was nice that they both grew at the end. Like, it wasn't one, like, I would have been really disappointed if Bianca continued to be shallow and continued and didn't, like, learn anything from this experience. So
Right.
I'm glad that both of them had some sort of character development because it would have been really unsatisfying if just one ended up the same at the end.
Yeah, and they both, like, I love how they had the sister talk in their bedroom because it just showed that they actually, like, cared about each other for at least one scene. Because at first they like, you know.
The one scene when they're not bickering.
Right.
Mhm.
It was relieving to see that.
Which, I mean, I don't have sisters, but I can imagine that is probably like their relationship is probably a more accurate depiction of what sister relationships are, because like you love each other, but also you're like very annoyed by each other, especially if like you're that different. So yeah, I think they also illustrate that relationship very well.
Yes, and the overprotective dad is also.
Yeah, no,
He
that's
provided a lot of Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Ariel.
I was just saying that I like how the dad also provided a lot of comic relief. I think that was also
Yes.
just
No, they really like developed that character very well, very well. I thought it was funny. It's always funny to me because my dad's an OB-GYN, and so and I mean nothing like Mr. Stratford or Dr. Stratford, I should say, but it's just always like a funny connection to me of just like, they like just the jokes he makes are just always like, oh, like I like my dad isn't anything like that, but just the fact that the writers like thought that that was like a good portrayal of doctors and OB-GYNs, I thought is like very funny and well done. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's just like a funny movie and but like well done in that it's not like I don't know, it's just fun. It's just a fun movie to watch. The whole the I forget what the song's called, but like the whole stadium performance.
Mm.
I love when Kat like crashes her car into the Porsche. Like I don't know, that's like a very small moment, but I'm literally always like, yeah, like she's
I'm
so
always rooting for her.
yes. Even though she's like I can recognize that she's not always right all the time. She's just so like authentic and herself. You kind of just have to be like, yeah.
it's something you
Like,
admire. Like it's just
yeah.
her courage and all that, like her no F's attitude in a way. It's very it's kind of cool just to watch because you sometimes don't see that all the time. Even in life, you don't see that all the time. But it was really cool to just see how she just moved through life with no cares in the world about what other people think. I think that was really cool.
Yeah, she kind of like when I was watching it, like she kind of gave me like a modern kind of vibe. Like she kind of made me think of like kind of like women today or like people I know. Like I was really surprised. Like as I kind of watched it, I was like, oh, I know people like that. Like she felt like just like very modern.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of women are changing now and becoming more independent. What was I about to say? What I was gonna say. I was thinking something, but keep talking, it'll come to me.
Yeah, but no, I mean it is really inspiring, but also I love like the presence of Bianca and Kat in that sense because we also have Bianca like improve and become this much better character, but she is more of the stereotypical girl, but she still has a personality and she still has opinions and she doesn't just want to be with the like popular guy, she learns, and like so kind of that development of like oh, you can be like cool and carefree like Kat and things will work out well and like you great like be yourself, but you can be yourself and you don't have to be like that. You can also be more of like a traditional girly girl as long as you're just being yourself. And that's like a really strong message they have with like this creation of like those two different characters and even like Kat's friend with the Shakespeare stuff like this really just like has this uplifting message of just like girls should be themselves and be true to themselves and like they will like things will work out in the end and they'll figure out what like truly makes them happy. So yeah.
Right. And what I was gonna say earlier was I was gonna bring up the poem at the end because I thought that was a very powerful moment where she like actually breaks and kind of like becomes more vulnerable, which I feel like is pretty common in rom-coms. Like it's always that moment where the character opens up more, and that was pretty powerful to me.
Yeah, I rewatched the scene just like one extra time because it just took me a minute to really like get like the importance of it. Because at first, I mean, I understood that she was letting her guard down, but there's just something special about it. Just the way that her, Julia Stiles, and Heath Ledger just look at each other in that like two shots. I think that was just really nice and powerful.
Yeah, he felt bad, obviously, with his expressions. And then with the poem, it's like it went from the stuff that's not super emotional to like the more she talked, the more like close it got to being that like vulnerable place. At first she's talking about his hair and the boots he wears, you know. So I thought that was like a big deal in that scene. Let's see. It's a lot of things that happen in rom-coms that like every rom-com has in common. So I'm just looking up like the formula to it. I know it's a lot of different things that
think in like the video we watched, it was like there's some like always form of deception of some way. And that deception was obviously between like Kat and the guys, and how Bianca can only date if Kat dated, and the deception that happened there with Patrick. So I know that was played a big force. Then at the end of the day, they found love, and two opposite sides of a coin, really, they were at the end.
Right. Let's see. I'm reading one thing that says, you need an innocent protagonist, whether it's female or male. No one is going to like the rom-com if it focuses on the guy who gets all the girls, or on a girl gets all the guys because they're confident.
Cameron, hello. I mean, no, I think it's so cute when he because he learns French for Bianca. He's actually, I just looked it up, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a fluent French speaker in real life, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, he's literally, to use modern language, he is very much a simp for Bianca Stratford.
True.
Yeah,
yes. And I think one of my favorite scenes out of many is how he says, and I can't remember the exact quote, but he says, like, just because you're beautiful, like, that doesn't mean you get to treat people however you want. And I feel like that was like, whoa, Cameron, like, you know, kind of like this very realistic, because he was obviously like completely enamored by this girl, but eventually kind of like warmed up and like saw who she was, kind of. But like within that, I think that's really what made Bianca like him, because he like didn't see her as just like the hot girl, and like saw her own faults, and like was like just spoke up to her and like stood up to her and treated her like a real person, and was like, this isn't cool. And I think that is really why like their relationship works, because he was like the first person that, despite the fact that he was so into her, just like the person he is, he was able to like be real with her. And you know, his infatuation with her really did help him get to know her better. And you know, I think she really admired that, because he was different than all the other boys. So
yeah, and the stories, like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, they're parallel in a way, because he liked her because of her looks at first, and then I forgot his name, but Heath liked Kat. Well, he didn't really like her. He got paid for it. He got paid, you know, to do what he did, but he actually ended up liking her.
mm-hmm.
That's the same with Cameron, because, you know, it was just the looks at first, but now it's like it got deeper than that. So both relationships are kind of like similar. Same with the car scene, kind of like, I don't know if y'all remember the car scene where they went from one car scene to the other. One worked out in Bianca's favor, but in Kat's favor.
Not so much Cats.
It didn't work out in Kat's favor, and I was like, what? But yeah, I think that was like really interesting. These characters had like parallel stories.
Yes, while also remaining so different. So
Right.
Yeah, no, it's just like, and the movie is like just jam packed with all these like awesome moments. Like that's like, even like the party house scene, I love like the yuppies, like the Ivy League kids, like the fact that they made that like a whole friend group in the thing. And it's like, and he goes, it's at whatever, Bogey Lowenstein's house, I think is his name, and they go, and he's like, oh, I think that's Nigel or Nelson, like Nelson with the brie, and then like it's all the kids rush in, and they have this giant party, and like, you know, so that's such a great moment. Like I just feel like there's so many great like big and small moments. Obviously the poem is like one of the biggest, like such an iconic rom-com moment. And yeah, it's just like a fun movie, because also it's just never slow, like something is always happening.
Yeah, I never felt watching it was like I was bored and I had to like pause it and take a break or leave the movie and come back. You want to watch the movie in one whole sitting, because there is a lot of iconic moments, and I kind of understood why it was such a well-known movie, and it was iconic for so many reasons, and it made sense, whether it's the music, the fashion, some of the scenes, but the acting, like a lot, you can see why it's so famous even still today.
Yeah, and oddly enough, if I can remember what I was gonna say. No.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm totally forgetting. It'll come back to me. Okay.
Yeah, I'll come back. You just made me like think about when you're saying the moment. It's funny because I'm looking at this site and it's like every rom com, like most rom coms, have the moment, and it's where it's known as like the climax. But in a rom com, they should stick to calling it the moment or the stress reliever. This is the moment when all the hard work he or she has put in either pays off or not. So I feel like this is the part where they went to the party, and it's like whatever they did before that is gonna pay off, and they're gonna end up together or not. And the character ends up either like really happy or really sad. And it goes back to the car scene where Kat ended up like not in a happy place. Well, she was at first, like leading up to it, she was okay, but it ended up not in a happy place, and the opposite with Bianca.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, I remembered what I was gonna say.
Um,
What is interesting about this movie is it has so many moments that it feels like 3 hours long. Like honestly, it feels super long, but like not in a bad way. Like it's like, oh, it's super long, but like I enjoyed every minute of it and like I like savored every scene. Like so dramatic. But like so that's something that I always notice when I watch it. Like I'm like, oh, this was only like 90 minutes or however long it is, but it's like so good and just like such a good movie to spend time watching, like honestly. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I hate that like this is my first time seeing it.
No, yeah, I mean, I just don't know if it's like the most common of rom-coms, which is kind of like the issue. So for my school, we have like all these movie posters, and 10 Things I Hate About You like sits right across from my desk. So it's like very like so I always see it. So that's why I started watching it, and then it was on Disney Plus. So yeah, it's just like I don't know. I feel like it's not as common as it should be. Like it's a very iconic movie, but like not as well known. Like, when you think of rom-coms, it's like maybe closer to the bottom of the list, but it's like such a good one. It should be up there higher. Sorry, like half my family decided to walk into my room as I was trying to say that. So if
No,
you
you
did
did.
not sound connected, that was why.
No, you did very well with that.
Thank
Some
you.
people walk in my room and I'm like, hold on.
No, because they were literally trying to talk to me as I was literally talking to the camera, and I was like, this, like, I can't, like, yeah, I love Zoom, love it all.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Any other inputs on this movie? I know Mackenzie, you just joined, but would you like to say anything about the movie? It doesn't.
Overall, it was a good movie though. It was a really good movie. Like what Lucy, I believe she was saying, the poem, it really made the movie for sure. It's something that's memorable. You feel like, oh, I wish, somebody could have done that for me or whatever. But it's a cute movie. I like it. It's
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. We all want a poem read to us.
Right. A love song of, love letter, something, right?
My favorite part of it is that they have Kat read it. It's not like Patrick does some big gesture. I love that they show that it's like this reciprocal relationship, because that's like much more real of like, oh, like they both like each other. It's not just like the guy chasing the girl. So I love that they have like Julia Stiles perform it, because first of all, she does it amazingly well. And also it just like adds so much more depth to the story. So yeah.
And it's crazy, like I just realized he didn't say anything about the poem afterwards. Like,
I know, we never hear about it.
He just showed up by her car with a brand new guitar.
Right. Like that's
pretty classy gift.
Pretty good. I mean, I'd be happy if I got that just laying in my car out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's funny. But I feel like that's how most guys can be. Like,
oh yeah.
More like material things. That's like No, you're mad at me, so I'm gonna give you this.
No,
You
yeah,
can
I
still
don't think.
tell, like when, like I said, that just there's only one shot of him reacting to the poem. Like there's just one shot.
Mhm.
But I think what Heath Ledger does is he's really good in that little one scene. I mean, his eyes will swell up a little bit. He's not actually crying, but you can just see like something's festered in there, and you can just see it like through his eyes. And that's just great acting alone.
Yeah.
So you can tell like in some way, you can tell that Patrick felt bad, and you can tell that he really does care about this girl, and that he screwed up.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the best part of that, really, the fact that they don't have Patrick in it a lot, really shows that it's really about like Kat's character development, because it's like, oh, she's able to say this to someone, and she's able to like communicate her feelings this way, and like that's an amazing step for her, and like that's what's important about the film, is that she has figured out who she is. So yeah, it's kind of like, so yeah, Heath Ledger does an amazing job, like in that one scene, like Ariel said. But like, given that, I love that he's not in it anymore. You know, like
It was definitely Kat's moment. Like it was her moment to, really show her true feelings, whether it was for Patrick or just alone. Just show that she can be vulnerable, and that she's not like a cold-hearted what everyone thinks. She does have a heart inside, and that she does care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure. It helps with character development, and it's real. All right. Are there any other inputs on this movie? It was a great movie.
Great for Valentine's Day. I think it is a good movie for Valentine's Day, honestly.
Valentine's Day.
I would watch it. Like, I think it'd be fun to watch with somebody. I think that would be cute.
Exactly. Must be nice.
Oh no, I
don't know if any of y'all have Valentines. I definitely don't, but it's
no.
I can just watch this movie again.
Right.
As I'd say, comfort during Valentine's Day. This is your movie.
I have no time for that. I'm gonna stay off social media, just gonna take a day break. I don't need to see no couple.
I'll have my Squishmallow with me. We'll watch the movie. I will be very happy.
Yeah. Don't think about the fact that it's not happening to you, and just
nope, not at all. It's totally cool. I'm fine. I'm fine.
We're all good. We're all good. I bet CJ would love this episode.
Oh my god, he's really missing out.
Yes.
I do feel bad. Shout out CJ. I don't know if he'll watch.
Shout out to CJ, our producer. Shout out to CJ.
Wonderful.
Happy birthday to your dad.
All right. And I will end it right